Have you ever thought that a CEO possessing millions of dollars would decide to disguise himself as an ordinary employee in his own company? And what would happen if behind a worn-out uniform and a baseball cap hiding his face, he uncovered a secret that could change someone's life forever? Welcome to an incredible story about kindness, leadership, and humanity, a story that will leave you speechless. Stay with me until the very end to witness how a small act of compassion turned into a life-changing moment. Hit the like button if you believe in the power of kindness, and join me in diving into a story you will never forget. Meet Mark Evans, the founder and CEO of Evans Mart, a supermarket chain with hundreds of stores across the United States. At 55 years old, Mark had built an empire from scratch, turning a small grocery store into a household name familiar to every family. His net worth reached millions of dollars, and he was respected as a symbol of success, though he always maintained a private, personal life. But behind the brilliant achievements, Mark felt something was missing. He sensed he was losing connection with the heart of his business, the people who worked every day to keep Evans Mart running. He read financial reports, attended meetings in luxurious conference rooms, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing the real story. What was life truly like for the cashiers, the stockers, the unsung heroes on the front lines of Evans Mart? So Mark made a bold decision to go undercover as a temporary worker at one of his own stores, store number 3, in a quiet suburban neighborhood near Chicago. Under the alias Mike, wearing old clothes, scuffed sneakers, and a baseball cap pulled low to hide his face, Mark wanted to experience the unfiltered reality of his company. No bodyguards, no assistants, just him blending in with the team. He only revealed this plan to his closest advisor, ensuring that no one at the store would recognize him. What Mark didn't anticipate was that this journey would lead him to a young employee named Ryan, whose compassionate actions would remind him of the reason he started building Evans Mart in the first place. This isn't just a story about business, it's a journey to rediscover the true meaning of life. On his first day as Mike, Mark was assigned to stock shelves and assist at the checkout counter at Evans Mart store number 3. The store was a hive of activity, with customers bustling in and out, carts clattering, and employees working tirelessly to keep up with the pace. Mark noticed small details he had never seen from his executive office: worn-out equipment, flickering fluorescent lights, and the long hours etched into the tired faces of the staff. He felt the physical ache of lifting heavy boxes and the mental strain of dealing with impatient customers. It was a humbling experience, far removed from his usual life of luxury. But amidst the chaos, one person caught his attention: Ryan, a young cashier in his early 20s, working at register number 5. Ryan wasn't just scanning items mechanically, he was connecting with people. Mark could hardly believe his eyes as he watched Ryan patiently help an elderly man named Thompson, who struggled to count his coins to pay for a few cans of soup and a loaf of bread. Instead of rushing him as many might during peak hours, Ryan smiled, chatted about the weather, and even quietly slipped a few dollars from his own pocket to cover the shortfall. "Don't worry, sir, I've got you," Ryan said softly. Ensuring no one else noticed, Mark was stunned. Here was a young man clearly not earning much from a low-wage job, willingly giving away the little he had without hesitation. Who was this guy, and what made him so different? Curious, Mark continued to observe Ryan over the next few hours while working nearby. He saw how Ryan greeted every customer with genuine warmth, even when they were rude or irritable, shouting or complaining about prices. He noticed that Ryan's smile never faded despite standing for hours without a break. During a brief lull, Mark casually asked a coworker, Tina, about Ryan while they restocked cereal boxes. "Oh, Ryan's a good guy," Tina said with a fond smile, "but his life isn't easy. He's been raising his younger brother on his own since their parents passed away a few years ago. He works extra shifts just to make ends meet. I don't know how he stays so positive." Mark felt a lump in his throat. He couldn't imagine the burden Ryan was carrying, yet this young man still chose to spread kindness as if it were second nature. Over the next 2 days, Mark continued to observe Ryan from his undercover role as Mike, and each moment only deepened his respect for the young cashier. On the second day, during a particularly busy afternoon rush, he saw Ryan help a single mother who couldn't afford all the items in her cart. She had a toddler clinging to her leg, her face flushed with embarrassment as she tried to decide between diapers and food for the week. Without hesitation, Ryan quietly added a few essentials like bread and milk and paid for them himself with crumpled bills from his wallet, telling her, "Don't worry, it's on the house." The woman's eyes filled with tears as she thanked him. Holding her child a little tighter, later that same day, a family of immigrants clearly new to the area and struggling with the language came to Ryan's counter with a small basket of groceries. They stumbled over their words, trying to ask about prices, and Mark noticed other customers in line growing impatient. But instead of showing frustration, Ryan calmly used simple words and gestures to communicate, even drawing a small map on a receipt to guide them to a nearby community center for help. The family left with grateful smiles, and one of the children waved at Ryan as they walked away. Mark couldn't believe it. Ryan wasn't just doing his job. He was making a difference in people's lives, one small act at a time, in ways no corporate policy could ever mandate. During a quiet moment on the third day, Mark struck up a conversation with another employee, Sarah, while they sorted inventory in the back room. He tactfully brought up Ryan, asking how long he had been at the store. Sarah sighed, her tone heavy with empathy. "He's been through a lot," she said. After his parents died in a car accident 3 years ago, Ryan dropped out of college to take care of his younger brother, Jake. He works full-time here and picks up odd jobs on the side just to pay rent and keep Jake in school. I don't know how he manages, but he never complains. He always has a smile for everyone, even on his worst days. Mark felt a pang in his chest. He doesn't know. I know, but I do. Mark felt his heart break. The reality of their hardship, confirmed by this boy's words, hit him like a wave. He nodded, promising himself he'd make a difference. After leaving the groceries and promising to return, Mark drove home, his mind flooded with plans to help this family. On the evening of the fourth day after the store had closed, Mark asked Joe, the store manager, to gather everyone for a brief meeting in the break room. Using the address Sarah had casually mentioned, Mark drove to Ryan's neighborhood under the guise of returning a forgotten item from the store, a small bag of groceries Ryan had bought. The neighborhood was modest, with old apartment buildings peeling paint under dim streetlights. Mark parked a block away to avoid suspicion and walked to Ryan's unit. Still in his Mike disguise, old jeans, a faded hoodie, and the baseball cap pulled low. He knocked on the door, and a boy of about 12 opened it. "I'm Jake. Who are you, sir?" the boy asked with curious bright eyes. Mark smiled warmly. "I'm Mike, a co-worker of your brother, Ryan. I just wanted to drop something off for him. Is he home?" Jake shook his head. "No, sir, he's working late again, but you can come in and wait if you want. I'm doing homework." Mark hesitated but stepped inside, struck by the simplicity of the tiny apartment, bare walls. A small table cluttered with textbooks and a worn-out couch with a patched cushion. As they sat, Jake chatted innocently. "Ryan works a lot, you know. He says it's so I can go to college someday. I want to be a scientist. He even helps me with my projects, even though he's super tired." Then Jake's tone softened, his eyes, looking down at his notebook. "After Mom and Dad died, I didn't think I'd ever be okay again. But Ryan, he's my rock. He's always there, even when we barely have anything to eat. He taught me to be kind, just like he is. I've seen him give his last dollars to help someone at the store, even when we needed it. He says, if we're kind, the world gets a little better. Do you think that's true, Mr. Mike?" Mark swallowed hard, his throat tight with emotion. "I think Ryan is right. Jake, kindness changes everything," he managed to say. Jake nodded, a small smile on his face. "Yeah, he's the best. I just wish he didn't have to struggle so much. Sometimes I hear him cry at night when he thinks I'm asleep. He doesn't know. I know, but I do. Mark felt his heart break. The reality of their hardship, confirmed by this boy's words, hit him like a wave. He nodded, promising himself he'd make a difference. After leaving the groceries and promising to return, Mark drove home, his mind flooded with plans to help this family. On the evening of the fourth day after the store had closed, Mark asked Joe, the store manager, to gather everyone for a brief meeting in the break room. Still dressed as Mike, in an old hoodie and a baseball cap, he stood before the team of about 15 employees, feeling his heart race with anticipation. He took a deep breath, removed his cap to fully reveal his face for the first time, and spoke with the confidence of a CEO. "Hello, everyone. I know you're wondering why I've called this meeting. I'm not Mike, a temporary worker. My name is Mark Evans, and I'm the CEO and founder of Evans Mart. I've been working here for the past few days to truly understand what goes on in our stores." The room fell silent as a pin jaw's dropped eyes widened in shock. Joe, the store manager, stammered, You're the CEO. I can't believe it. I thought you looked familiar." A few employees whispered to each other, a wave of astonishment rippling through the group. Ryan, standing at the back with his arms crossed, looked frozen, his face a mix of confusion and disbelief. Mark smiled gently to ease the tension. "I know this comes as a surprise, but I want to say that these past few days have been eye-opening for me. I came here to learn about the store, about all of you, and I've seen things no financial report could ever show me. Not just at work, but beyond these walls. I've seen the heart of this company, and it lies in the people who show up every day giving their all." Mark turned to Ryan, his voice warm and sincere, cutting through the stunned silence. "Ryan, I've watched what you do for our customers. You're not just a cashier, you're a source of hope for so many. I saw you help Mr. Thompson with your own money. I saw you support a single mother and welcome an immigrant family with a kindness that's rare to find. And I've learned about the sacrifices you've made for your brother Jake, to give him a better life. You've been his rock, teaching him compassion even in the toughest times. You did all of this without expecting anything in return, and that has truly inspired me." Ryan looked down at the floor, blushing, his hands fidgeting nervously. He mumbled, I just wanted to help, sir. I didn't think it was a big deal." Mark shook his head firmly. "No, Ryan, it is a big deal. Your kindness doesn't just help customers, it reminds me why I started Evans Mart. To build a community, not just a business." Mark's tone became formal, his presence commanding as he addressed the room. "So I'm announcing that Ryan will be promoted to assistant manager of this store, effective immediately, with a significant pay raise to reflect his dedication and leadership. I've also learned about the struggles you've faced supporting your younger brother Jake. To honor your sacrifices, I'm personally funding Jake's education from high school through college, ensuring he has the resources to chase his dream of becoming a scientist, or whatever path he chooses. Lastly, inspired by your story, I'm establishing a company-wide employee support fund to ensure that people like you who face hardships always have someone to lean on at Evans Mart." The room erupted in applause, the sound echoing off the break room walls. Ryan stood there, overwhelmed, tears streaming down his face as he tried to process the news. He attempted to thank Mark, but his voice choked with emotion, barely managing a whispered, "Thank you, sir." Joe patted his shoulder and coworkers rushed to congratulate him. Their faces lit with genuine joy. Mark watched, feeling a warmth he hadn't experienced in years as a CEO. This wasn't just a business decision, it was a human connection inspired by a little boy's dream, a brother's unwavering love, and the quiet strength Jake saw in Ryan every day. As we come to the end of this incredible story, let's reflect on the lessons we can take away. First, kindness matters more than we often realize. Ryan's small acts of generosity, paying for a customer's groceries, guiding a lost family, or simply offering a smile weren't just gestures, they were lifelines for those who received them. And they didn't go unnoticed. Mark, a billionaire CEO, was moved to tears by these actions, proving that kindness transcends status, wealth, or position. It reminds me of a time I witnessed a similar act in my own life. Years ago, I saw a neighbor anonymously shovel snow off an elderly woman's driveway after a brutal winter storm. He didn't ask for thanks, he just did it. That stuck with me, so let's ask ourselves, what small act of kindness can we do today? Because you never know who's watching, or whose life you might change. Second, true leadership isn't about power or profits. It's about empathy. Mark Evans could have stayed in his corner office reviewing spreadsheets and sipping coffee while detached from his employees' realities. Instead, he chose to walk in their shoes, literally. By going undercover, he saw the struggles, the heart, and the humanity behind his business. His decision to reward Ryan and create a support fund wasn't just a one-time act. It was a commitment to change how he leads. This hits home for me because I've worked under bosses who never took the time to understand their team's challenges, and it made all the difference in morale. If you're in a position of power, whether you're a manager, a teacher, or a parent, take a page from Mark's book. Step down from the pedestal and listen. Understand, act. How can you show empathy to someone in your life right now? Finally, Ryan's story teaches us about resilience. Despite losing his parents, dropping out of college, and working endless hours to support Jake, he never gave up. He didn't let bitterness or despair take over. Instead, he channeled his pain into kindness and hope for his brother. That's a strength most of us can only aspire to. It makes me think of the countless Americans facing similar silent battles. Single parents, caregivers, low-wage workers who keep pushing forward. Ryan's resilience is a call to action for us to keep going, no matter the odds, and to lift others up along the way. So where does this leave us? Mark Evans rediscovered his purpose. Ryan's life was transformed and Jake's future became brighter, all because one man noticed another's kindness. This story isn't just about them, it's about us. Let's commit to being more like Ryan, kind even when it's hard, and more like Mark, attentive to those around us. If this story touched you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Tell me in the comments, what's one act of kindness you've seen or done that made a difference? I can't wait to read your stories. Until next time, keep spreading hope. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe or leave a comment so I can write even more captivating stories next time. Thank you.